Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch the Third, coming to you live from the palatial studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Irvine, California. Joining me from a more than acceptable safe social distance is my guest for today, Raine Phillips. How you doing, Raine?
Hi, Bill. Thank you. I'm doing well, and I just want to say thank you so much for having me on as your guest.
Well, I'm so glad that you and Elliot decided you wanted to be a guest. That's
Wow, and I'm gonna break this. This is the first time I've ever been on a podcast, so it's very exciting.
Wow. I feel very privileged now.
Me too. I was talking with one of my friends about it, and they said, "Oh, you've never been on a podcast?" And I was like, "What, is everybody on podcast now, and I'm the only one who hasn't done a podcast?" And yeah, seems like
Yes,
that.
you are the last one.
Really felt like that. So here we go.
Okay. Well, Raine, you are a real estate rental agent or a real estate agent specializing in rentals, which is the more appropriate way to say it.
Well, I am a licensed real estate agent, but I would refer to myself as someone who specializes just in actually high volume rental sales.
High volume rental sales. What exactly does that mean?
Well, work with a number of people, and I usually average about, well, this month is a little bit higher, but usually average between 3 and 5 transactions a week.
Okay.
So,
And you are in the LA market, correct?
yes, Los Angeles, spanning from Glendale all the way into Playa. So,
Oh
really
wow.
transversing this sprawling Los Angeles city.
Yeah, that's pretty sprawling. Um, let's see. So you do both higher rents and lower rental areas and everything in between, or do you have a specialty within your niche?
No, actually, I do it all. I go from studios all the way to single family homes. So,
Nice.
I mean, they're marketed, of course, differently to each scope of the property. But
Sure.
yes, I do rent anywhere in between, exactly, which is a lot of fun because it keeps it fresh, it keeps it mixed up, and I go to
Mhm.
different neighborhoods. So I really like seeing the communities in LA and seeing how everything has been developing over the past few years.
Yeah. Um, I saw that in something that the median rent for a one bedroom in West Hollywood is 2450. Is that right?
Could be. I mean, that's what I saw too. I've been reading some really high numbers. I was reading from, I rely on one of my sources would be Zumper. They seem to really analyze the data, and we're looking at Los Angeles having an average for one bedroom of 2,400. So West
Wow.
Hollywood, no doubt, maybe a little bit higher if they have a pool or another amenity. Yeah,
Sure.
definitely, definitely be correct.
Oh wow, those amenities are often taken for granted by people. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down in Orange County, and the rental for a one bedroom is averaging about 2,000. And
Oh,
yeah, so a little bit better, but than up there in LA it looks like. But still, that's my family who lives in other parts of the U.S. are like, you're buying for that, right? Like,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It's that old adage about only spending what is it, 20 or 30% of your
Hmm.
income on rent.
Yeah.
It's just completely gone out the window. I mean, you have to qualify with the 3 times the rent. So to do something for 2,400 with California taxes,
Yeah.
we can only qualify you on gross because who knows what your taxes are going to be. So we qualify an application on gross income, and so something for 2,400 would be you'd have to make $7,200 a
Yeah.
month just without even worrying about your car note,
Hmm.
any other bill that you might have. And so it's quite a lot of
It's
money
crazy.
just for like an average one bedroom. And I don't think a lot of these have like the bells and the whistles that you might want.
Right, right. I mean, everybody wants at least a pool and a laundry room. Uh,
TV or a stainless steel appliance. I
yeah,
mean, these are just some of the, amenities that make living more comfortable and make what you're paying for worth it.
sure, sure. Well, I'm sure location has a lot to do with where with how much the rents are as well. Do you find that more desirable communities have higher rents, or
It used to be like that where you could actually kind of like say like, oh, I live in Beverly
Mhm.
Hills, and because they're the 90210 brand, you know that you're going to pay more there than let's say you would in Mar Vista or Venice. But honestly, it's all starting to be really equal. I mean, it just seems like everything's risen at once. And then you have the communities like Brentwood and Beverly Hills that will stay a little bit higher, but the other ones are they're catching up. They really are.
wow,
So it's the just the pricing across the board to me is very high right
yeah.
now.
What's the primary reason causing this? Do you know?
Well, I think that reason is multi-layered. And for me, just from what I know from personal experience being in the market, right before COVID hit, let's go back to like 2018, 2019, I was seeing a lot of the pricing going up where it'd be like the landlord would just automatically, somebody vacates, they would just give you a, the apartment home like a raise of like $100. It's just like, okay, they left, here, just add another 100 to it
Mm,
just for increase. So while this was happening, I was noticing that salaries were not going
yeah.
up. Like there was no adjustment to the salaries. And people were paying more for housing, but still making the same amount of money.
Mhm.
And then what happened? So it was a very strong renter owner's market. So the owner had control of the market and was able to set the price. And then all of a sudden we rolled into COVID and it switched. It became a market where it became a renter's market where everybody, there's a mass exodus out of LA and people could work remotely and they didn't want to live here anymore and be here if they couldn't have the amenities that they liked. So at that point, it really became a strong renters market. So we have two things that were very quick and volatile. One, rents really raising for no reason other than they could raise, and then rents just crashing. And now we're seeing rents going back up and it going back to being an owner's market.
Okay. And what can renters? Is there anything renters can do when they're trying to get into a location that to be able to pay less? I mean, this is it's crazy if you're looking at 2,500 bucks for a one bedroom. I hate to think what the median is on a home might be for a small family.
Well, there's some things that you can do. You get more value in a two bedroom. So I think the two bedroom is averaging about 32 to 3,400 right now, and they're pretty nice. Get more square
Mhm.
footage, probably get nicer amenities, and you'll be paying a lot less if you choose to have a roommate. So as far as getting more value for your dollar, having a roommate is a really great way to go. But if you don't want to do the roommate thing, which a lot of people just don't at this stage in their life, a lot of people actually, two bedrooms was one of the biggest vacancies that we had during COVID because nobody wanted to live with their roommate anymore. I mean, I have wild COVID stories of people who told me that they were locked out of their apartment home because their roommate was very paranoid and didn't know where they were and didn't want to let them back
Oh
in.
wow.
Oh, yeah, we had so much market fluctuation during COVID. But for somebody who wants a one bedroom, I would definitely make an offer. So I had somebody who just recently rented. She put in an offer for $100 off, and some of the reasons why they countered on the offer, but they did come down $60, which is a great savings. It's over $700 annually. And some of the reasons why they accepted the offer was because the person had strong credit. They made three times the rent without the offer. And they were willing to move in early. So the unit was not going to sit vacant for 20 days, 25 days. They were moving in a very short time period, which would immediately start generating income for management, which of course they like to
Yeah.
see. And she also wrote a nice letter just saying, um, I have great references. I'm going to take great care of the apartment home. I intend to live here for at least a couple of years. And, I will be reliable and steady on the rent. And that's something that gave a nice personal touch to the offer. And so it was considered and accepted, and she signed and is moving in a few days.
Wow. That's awesome to hear. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of it has to do with some of the same things that people hear that are good for actually purchasing a home, with having good income, good cash flow, and just being a generally nice person.
Yeah, there's a there's a saying in our business. We always do the frontal verification, but the experts will tell you do not just the last one, but do the one before that, because they may have wanted to get rid of the person and gave them a great
Mm,
reference, saying let them go. So always go back and do both references, because you never know
right. Um,
if the landlord's motivated for them to move
so
out.
where are the shortages? What types of properties are basically booked up, if you will? You said that she was able to negotiate on a one bedroom. Are there a lot of vacancies in one bedrooms, or where are the vacancies?
Wow. Well, I mean, right now it's a very tight market. It's tight inventory. There's not that much out there to choose from, and it's very competitive. And to illustrate that, yesterday I advertised an apartment home, and I think it was right before the close of business, maybe around just right before 6 o'clock. By midnight, I had my first application
Wow.
and about 40 emails inquiring about this apartment
Wow.
home. The time I went back to my computer in the morning, I had two additional applications. Now, this is all sight unseen. They've only seen what I've shown in the advertising, which is the
Mhm.
photographs. So I called the first applicant and I said, I'm going to run your credit. I just want to let you know you're the first application, but I'm going to charge your credit card. It's $25 and your credit will be affected. So I just want to let you know, unless you want to wait and see the apartment first. And she said, no, no. I've been looking. I've been on the market for so long. I like the photos. Is it anything like the photos? And I said, the photos are very accurate, very
Mhm.
representational of the unit. She said, go for it. So she got approved, like instantaneously, like pretty much same day. I met her today, and she's already signed the lease and given the funds. Like the transaction was less than 24
Wow.
hours. And so the 40 people behind her are mad. They're
Right.
upset. And I got
It's
several emails telling people it went off market. And I got a lot of emails saying, how did this happen so quickly? And I would recommend at this time in the market, because there's such slim inventory, if you see something, don't wait to apply. People aren't waiting
right.
anymore. People are no longer waiting to see a place and then apply.
Right.
So that's a real big game changer.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
definitely on the agents to do good photos.
Well, and what scares me about that is the scam factor, the scam risk,
Mm,
because I've had so many people who have thought that they were getting an apartment home. So here's a great story. It's not so great, but at least it has a happy
okay.
ending. This lady calls me and she says, I'm on my way to meet you at this property in Brentwood, and I have the checks. the cashier checks. And I said, who are you? I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, I don't have any applications on this property. She gave me the address. The address was accurate. She gave me the unit number. It was all accurate, except it was a one bedroom at the time for, I think, $24.95. And her checks were made out for like, I think it was like 1,300, like way, like ridiculously below market. Like to me, that would have shouted scam, stay away. So somebody had duplicated my exact listing, everything. They weren't even creative about it. It was pretty much word for word and just modified the contact information and had listed it with their phone number.
Wow.
And she was going to give the checks to this person. And the only reason why she didn't was because there was a voice that said, is this a scam? Like, could this be, too good to be true? So she wound up, this is very clever, and I admire her for doing this. She wound up Google mapping the address, and it brought up a photo, and on the photo was the sign, asking, saying for lease with my phone number. And that's when she called me from the sign from Google Maps, and that's when I told her it was a total scam, and I sent her the true listing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow is right. And I've had a few people like that. And I mean, it just leads into a whole other category because I relocate so many people over FaceTime and Zoom, especially during the pandemic. I mean, there were a lot of expats that needed to come back from Britain and Spain were the two biggest countries where they really needed to come back home, and they needed someone to rely upon to get them back because their countries were saying, leave or you're going to be faced with lockdown. And so at that point, it's really important to be able to verify that this isn't a scam. You are going to get the keys, that you're just not giving money away.
Right. So too good to be true probably is.
Yes. Sadly, I wish that wasn't the case, but that's usually the case. You know it. I know it.
Other than Google mapping the location and looking for the for lease sign, what are ways people can protect themselves against these kinds of scams and contacting you directly, of course?
Right. Well, cross-referencing me, for example. So you'll see me on LinkedIn. You'll see that where I work, what I do, my website. You'll also see me on Yelp for my reviews. So those two platforms validate that I am an agent and that I have a lot of reviews and all of that great stuff. You can also cross-reference the address from, usually when I market to everywhere. It goes Zillow, Zumper, even Westside Rentals, which is now apartments.com, but they still have separate sites. Craigslist is still very relevant. I'm on Craigslist. I'll just go ahead and market, and I would go ahead and make sure that you're seeing the same listing across these rental platforms. That's a really good way.
Okay. Looking for duplicates on the same platform, I'm sure would be a good way to do it too.
Sure. Yes, exactly. If you see something, it's because it does get really strange out there, and it's there's a lot of desperate people out there that are looking to scam people, and this is a great way to do it because you have a lot of people who are desperate to get an apartment and want to believe that, but it's trouble.
Right. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
in a general sense, well, here's a question. Do you see Los Angeles getting just as difficult for renters as New York or San Francisco? Those places are legendary for having tough rentals.
Yes. Well, I mean, I feel like it's headed that way. I mean, I had a lot of people really disappointed in finding affordability. So again, that $7,200 mark for somebody who wants to pay 2,400 isn't too bad, but you've got people who, especially the interesting thing to back up about this job is that I see a lot of people's incomes. And it really surprises me when you have people who are teachers and even nurses or caretakers, they just don't have that kind of
Right.
income. And so for them, they're just being driven out of Los Angeles because they don't earn three times the rent.
Right.
So when you have something that comes on market that's 2,000, it really creates just such a stampede of people wanting to apply, but there's one unit and 60 people who are interested. And where else do they go? There's not that much available. So I feel like Los Angeles is on its way to becoming just like New York and San Francisco, a market for those people who can, earn that kind of money,
Wow.
which in LA is tech and entertainment are my two biggest. And now engineering. I get a lot of
Okay.
engineers, tech and entertainment, engineering, um, gaming, people who are like work for Riot Games, these kind of big companies that are doing big
Right.
hiring.
Right. And yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous the way what would 72 7 times 12 would be what 72 grand 70, how much a
Hold
year?
on, I have to do,
I'm
I'm like
trying to
math in my
trying to
head. Wait a
wait a
second.
second. Wait a
It's
second. Let me cheat.
84,000.
84,000. Yeah, that's definitely way out
Yeah.
of the range of most even teachers and all. But I mean, at
Oh,
least
yeah.
for Southern California, there are suburbs that aren't that far away. And all. What's
Right.
transportation? What are transportation services like in LA that you know of? How are they doing as far
Yeah.
as public transit?
Well, to pivot back to what you were saying, I think one of the benefits of COVID was the work
Hmm.
remotely. So a lot of people that left can still work remotely. A lot of the commercial spaces haven't completely opened up, or if they have, they made it easier where you just have to come in maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and they're still kind of doing that. So you don't have to be at your desk anymore 9 to 6 and hitting rush hour traffic every
Right.
morning. But as to your other question, as far as transportation in LA, we're still really reliant on car. We're still doing the car thing. I mean, for me, there's only that I know of just a few lines. I know they're developing more um, trains for the upcoming hosting of the
Right.
Olympics. But right now, people really want to get out of their cars and not be so reliant on it, especially since gas prices have been very high these last 3 months
Right.
and
Right.
slowly coming down.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we've definitely seen that across the board here in Southern
Yeah.
California. Um, yeah, I know.
Well, now it's down to 520, 520,
Woohoo!
which seems like a real break from what I know, but it does feel like there's some kind of relief at the pump
Yeah.
because I was seeing places that were crawling towards like
Yeah.
$7,
Yeah. I was seeing.
getting
I
really
saw one
crazy.
place that was shooting for 8. So yeah,
Oh my
that was
God.
crazy, and I was just like, I'm glad I don't have to, drive that far to get to my office. But yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, I don't remember what I paid the other day for gas, but it was like you said, like 5.20 a gallon, something somewhere around in there. But
Which all of a sudden seems the new
yeah,
reasonable. You're
yeah,
like, I'll take it.
they hit you hard, but it's
I'm
like it
just
was like $4. Where'd that go? But
yeah, that was a complaint then, and now we're like, okay, yeah, there's so many things that are shifting in Los Angeles in terms of the economy, and then being affected by, of course, the global economy, the war in Ukraine with Russia. I mean, these are all things that are trickling down and affecting us in one way or the
yeah,
other.
yeah, absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
how about incomes? How are those affecting? Are those having any effect on rental rates, or is it because you were talking about the nurses and teachers and caregivers and all that? Are local incomes going up at all, or is it just a shift like in Seattle from the people who work there to the engineers and computer science geeks and those people, the
Yeah.
people making 6 figures a year?
Yeah, you said the E word. I mean, the engineers really are getting great offer letters. They're getting bonuses. I see things coming in from Amazon and Boeing and these really big companies that seem to be, from what I can see from the outside, paying a fair wage for somebody who has the experience and the education for that. As far as school teachers and everything, I'm not seeing like for for this sector, these raises, it seems like they've never gotten a raise. I'm just like, it's still the same from like 3 years ago. I'm like, how is this adjustment being made? And then that really, that's something that personally bothers me because it's such an important part of everybody's life is being taught, going to school. So I'd really like to see us elect the people that will make a difference in these salaries, but that's a whole different topic, though.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I do want to note something that I think most people don't recognize is that I've seen, and it's so heartwarming, I've seen so many generational sacrifices from parents who have come over here from different countries and they've taken jobs that they wouldn't have had in their country just to start over and give their kids a better life and education in
Right.
America. Now I see their kids getting these wonderful job offers. And that's something that's super heartwarming for me that even though they made this generational sacrifice, that it's paying off for their children and that's working for their family plan. And that's something that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Um, to go on with talking about multi-generational, do you see a lot of multi-generational families renting together, or or is that something that you see where you've got parents and grandparents and the kids all living in a house together, or anything like that?
It's very rare. I don't see that very
Mm.
often. What I do see is that new renters, when I see their rental history, where have you been for the last two
Mhm.
years? They've been at home, saving
Right.
money, working from home, and living with their parents. So I do see a lot of people who have gone back to stay at home to save and to just work and to kind of ride out COVID and see, because for a while there, we really didn't know what was going to happen until the vaccine came and the numbers started coming down and things kind of semi returned to what we know as normal.
Right. Yeah. The new normal.
Yes. Yes, the new normal, which is a whole new not normal.
Yeah.
So it's ever
Ever
changing.
changing indeed, especially in LA. Um,
Yes.
what kinds of things can potential renters do to make them look more appealing to the apartment managers that they're applying to?
Well, I think it's a great question. I think everybody, could benefit from knowing their credit
Mm.
score. It's shocking to me the amount of people who don't know their own credit
Hmm.
score. And so I'll run their credit and then I'll call them up and I'll say, well, did you know that you owed like $150 to like Verizon? They'll be like, no. And I completely believe them. I mean, it's just that people aren't paying attention to things that can go on your credit report and really pull down your score. And so I say, know your credit, watch what's happening because, especially now with so much electronic transactions, it's so much easier to have something erroneously appear on your credit
Sure.
report and you would never know. Like you thought you canceled that subscription.
Hmm.
Well, if you didn't, you're still being charged for it and you haven't paid it because you lost your debit card. Now you have a new number. So you have all these like little micro transactions that could happen and really affect your score. So
Well,
I say if you do have a score that's below 650, because that's usually right the bar where we look
mhm.
for with moderate to income debt to salary. A few things going on there when we're looking at your credit score. Another thing is to know your credit score. And if you do have a lower credit score because you didn't pay a bill and you got caught in COVID, like you were in entertainment or in nightlife, there's so many actors who were working at night as bartenders that all of a sudden just stopped working
Right.
completely. You can address that and say, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and here's the steps I've taken to repair it. And it was never my intention, but nobody ever saw this coming. And that really goes a long way in the eyes of a property owner because then it shows to them that you're responsible. You know what happened, you understand why it happened, and the steps that you've taken to
Right.
repair it.
Right. I actually have a guy I work with who does credit repair. He's got a setup that does credit repair in like 2 3 months. And
Give them a
yeah,
shout
for
out.
sure, for sure.
Everybody needs it. I mean, I have to tell you, you should, because I say to people, it's very difficult. I mean, before the web, if you had something, if you had personal identity
Hmm.
theft, nobody really like not believed it, but really knew what it
Right.
was until we got deeper into the technology age that we're in
Yeah.
now. And so now you're able to like alert your bank right away. The big
Hmm.
credit houses, you've got Experian, TransUnion, all these things now now they'll take action on your behalf as the
Right.
consumer. But before it just seemed like it wasn't known enough and people just weren't sure.
Yeah.
You had to do a police
Hmm.
report. I mean, you really had to prove that you had identity
Yeah.
theft. But now it seems like it's much more, I don't want to say popular, but much more
Yeah.
common.
Yeah. I use a service called ID Shield that uses actual investigate licensed investigators to go through and help you through the process of doing it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's pretty cool. It's like $10 a month, but but yeah, um,
Yeah. A lot of people, I don't know if you've heard of this, but people who have been a victim to personal identity
mhm,
theft, now they can like what they call lock their
yeah,
credit. So if you do want to run their credit, you have to get permission,
right,
and they have to sign off on it. So then you can run the credit, which for me, I mean, if that happened to me, I definitely would want to do the same thing and take every
yeah,
step.
for sure. Yeah, get on at least get Credit Karma. You know,
Yes. Oh
it's
my gosh,
yeah.
what's with them?
Uh, it
They're a little too on
Yeah,
top of
no
it.
kidding, no kidding. In the rental market, what which of the bureaus is usually used more often? Is it TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax?
It for My Smart Move, which was I was doing a lot of business with My Smart Move, which
Uh-huh.
was geared towards doing a credit check, which seems like it wasn't gonna, you have these soft and hard credit
Yeah.
checks. It seems like it was giving it a softer
Okay.
check, but I use TransUnion or I use
Okay.
Experian, and they're both
Yeah.
pretty good. I
Oh,
think so.
they
I
all do
mean,
their jobs. Just that some of them report different things. You know?
exactly. Well, the interesting thing is that people always say we need to run your credit check, but they don't realize we're also looking for
Mhm.
criminal because that's part of the law as well. If you have somebody who's uh, a sex
Yeah.
offender, they'd have to make sure they're publicly registered. You have a lot of things that are going on besides just looking at a score when
Right.
you see a credit check. It's also giving you criminal, it's giving you
Mhm.
bankruptcy, it's just going through anything that you've had that's associated with your social security
Yeah.
number.
And most people don't realize you can have a great credit score, but a lousy debt to income ratio, and be
Yeah,
tossed right out the door. Uh, you know,
it's so true. I've seen so many people where they're living right at
yeah,
the edge, and I'm just like, oh, wow, what you make is what you
yeah,
spend, which it's just kind of a sign of the times. I feel that a lot of people spend a little bit more than what they earn because maybe not even because they want to, but because everything's gotten so
yeah.
expensive.
Especially now with the inflation going the way it is, it's for sure.
Yes.
Um, okay, well, um,
Are you looking for an apartment home, Bill? Are you
no,
moving to
no, not looking at an
LA?
apartment home this time around this time. Yeah, I have a roommate. We rent in Santa Ana, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's all right. The management's really nice.
Okay.
You know,
That's important. And I feel like that's really
mhm,
important too. It's a good point that you should really check in on management and cross check on their reviews. I
yeah,
mean, it's a little bit not harder, but sometimes I feel some reviews can be like revenge
yeah,
reviews
yeah.
because people get mad at management because they didn't like this or that.
Mhm.
But I mean, you can get a good sample if you read enough of the reviews to know what you're signing up for. You can kind of, I feel intuitively figure out if this is that. And I also have people who will see an apartment home, they'll come back and they'll check out the neighborhood when I'm not there, and they'll run into somebody who lives into the building, and then they can ask them directly, which is really nice too to get just a completely unfiltered
Mhm.
opinion.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, you gotta. Yeah, you're right. You've got to be careful about whose reviews you're reading, and know that I would say that most of the reviews that are on the extreme ends, like really
Hmm.
kissy, nice, sugary, or really mean, are probably not true.
Yes. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I do have really great reviews and they are true,
Yeah,
but I also offer only one service. I'm a leasing agent, and then when I give you the keys, after that, it's up to somebody
right.
else to manage the process and what's going on in your apartment home. So, in that way, I have it a little bit easier because you can have things that are really ongoing. I mean, there's another thing that's happening in LA is there's so much construction, and all of a sudden I rent you, and then 3 months later they're demoing the building next door. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, that's not you. How would I
Right.
know? But it's just, did management know? There's just a lot of construction going on right now, and although we do need housing, it's inconvenient and it's loud. So it's not a favorite thing to be living next door to.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yes.
What should people watch out for when they're looking at a place? Speaking of demolitions going on next door, is there any clue people can get about the area to know that they're what they're getting into?
Well, that's a tricky question because we do live in a city, and I feel that anything can happen anytime in LA. Unfortunately, we have a lot of homelessness
Yeah.
here, and we have an affordable housing crisis as well. So we do have these situations that are happening around us that we're living with as well. And when you go to an apartment home or you're in a community, you definitely want to be aware of how the building's kept, how the buildings next door are kept, what the hallways look like, is it well lit? Um, you just want to check out the garage, make sure that that's looking up to date and well kept. And then, as far as doing your own research, you really have, as the person who's going to reside there, this is going to be your home. You should be able to drive around, be comfortable in the neighborhood, look online. There's a website called Walk Score that's really great because it will tell you what you're near, including transportation,
Yeah.
buses, landmarks, restaurants. And then you should look and do crime statistics, find out more about that. Or I think everybody's on that app now, next door.
Yeah.
You can also look there to figure out, like, what are people saying about the neighborhood? I mean, everybody feels like they're, I mean, I'm in Mar Vista
Okay.
myself. I feel like I'm in a great neighborhood, but I mean, I definitely see, I mean, I went to go walk my dog and I saw these guys like casing the joint like right across the street
Wow.
from me, and I alerted the property managers and they were like so thankful, and they alerted their neighbors. So you just never know.
Yeah.
It's not one neighborhood or one community. It's That's going to give you this sense of security. You really have to be aware.
Well, and really, there's no telling, in any great neighborhood,
Yeah.
there's going to be the opportunity someone might have to take advantage of you, to rob you, or worse. Um, and yeah, especially in a busy city filled with busy people. Um, but what? Well, let's see. What can people do? What should owners be doing to help their prospective renters or their actual renters? Um,
Oh, sure. Well, I think there's a big responsibility for the owners to present and give an apartment home that is safe, up to date with all codes and
mhm.
standards, and is ready to move in. In other words, everything's working, it's been professionally cleaned, the person can move in seamlessly, the locks have been changed, the AC is working, all of these things are happening. So you immediately have like a really nice, warm entry into your new home. I think that's really important as the first impression on management. And that's something that they're responsible
Right.
for. They're also responsible for having great communication with their resident. And that means if there's going to be any kind of inspection, or if they're deciding to make any kind of upgrades, they should really be communicative towards their resident, because it's a really symbiotic relationship. So you want to make sure that you keep this relationship on a friendly term. I mean, this is something where you live, and I'm a firm believer in home is our sanctuary. It's where we now get away from everything that's going on the streets of LA, and we come home and we relax here. We cook here, we sleep here, we rest here. So it's like it's really important to validate their feeling of this is my home. And I think one of the ways to do that is by ensuring that their home is up to par when they move in. It's really important to me.
Right. Okay. Do you do a lot to check out management in the buildings that you help rent out the apartments to?
I do. I make sure that the keys are working, that the mailbox is clear. So when they open up the mailbox for the first
Hmm.
time, someone's back mail doesn't like come falling onto their feet. And make sure the locks have been changed, that they're working like seamlessly. I mean, you don't want to like give somebody keys to something where they can't immediately
Right. Right.
effortlessly open the door. It's like there's no jimmying. It's like that key needs to
Gotta
open
wiggle.
that door.
Gotta wiggle it.
And yeah, yeah. Like right now that's happening to me and I'm just like, great, I have to solve this. But yeah, so you really want to make sure, and you also want to make sure they have renter's insurance. And renter's
Mhm.
insurance is just as important for them as it is for management. Because if something does happen, you can't put it that on
Right.
management. You have to make sure that you're insured for the things that you have. And it's so easy to get it. You can bundle it with your car. There's a
Yeah.
great app called Lemonade.
And
And
it's real
honestly, I
cheap
mean,
too.
yeah, and it's so cost
Yeah.
efficient, and most people, to be honest, it's like it's
Yeah.
electronics. That's what we all invest in now. Flat screen TVs, desktops, phones. I mean, a lot of people who are renting right now aren't keeping like large amounts of jewelry and fur coats
Right.
in the
Right.
closet
Right.
in LA. They're there to have like a nice home, and they should be able, and musical instruments, but
Yeah.
that's about it as far as just make sure you insure
Yeah.
yourself because you never know.
And make sure your agent goes through your list of property with you too, your SPP, because I actually still have to do that with my renters because I just realized I have stuff that needs to be separately listed on my I have my
Right,
comic
and
book
that's another
collection
good
and my
thing.
musical instruments and my camera collection.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
That's very valuable. Yeah, so if something happened to that, you would definitely want to
mhm.
have it, insured just in case. I mean, if not, it's a complete
Right,
loss.
right. Because there
It's a
are
complete
things
loss.
that
That's
the insurance company won't insure if you don't put it in a list of covered items. So make sure of that.
right.
But but a good
Yeah.
agent will help you with
And then
that.
yeah, it's all part of a questionnaire. So that's really easy to do. And then I think another important thing is the preliminary move-in
Hmm.
inspection. When someone moves in, I mean, these aren't brand new. These apartments have been lived in before. So there's going to be surface and cosmetic damage, but it shouldn't be something where you're like, wow, there's there's a hole in the wall. I mean, there should be very, very simple things that you can easily photograph,
Right.
just send to yourself or the management company, just to document. So when you move out, you always think you're going to remember, right? You're like, I'm going to remember that when I move out, but it could be years
Yeah.
before you move out. So you just want to make a living document, archive it in your email, make sure that you're able to bring it back up and say, hey, this scratch was here when I moved in. I didn't cause any
Right.
damage. And here are the photos that I took when the apartment is still a blank
Yeah.
canvas before you've moved in, for
Oh yeah,
sure.
for sure. Photos are a wonderful thing.
Photos are wonderful things. They don't, I mean, they can lie if you use the long lens.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the most part, that, and I tell people to get a jump on changing their address and
Mm.
hooking up their utilities because everything got so backed up during COVID. And right
Yeah.
now, last time I heard SoCal Gas, if the gas gets turned off, it's almost 2 weeks to like 10
Wow.
days to get it turned on. That's a
That's
long time to
crazy.
live without having gas
Yeah.
on. Yeah, because they literally have to come out to the apartment
Right.
home and get access.
Right. Wow.
So try and like, moving's a really busy time. And even during COVID, so many moving companies were booked. Like people would want to like change their lease start date because honestly, they couldn't find anybody to help them move.
Hmm.
Moving's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Treat it as such. You're picking up all your things and shifting it to a whole new place.
Well, you didn't believe that we could go for 45 minutes, and it looks like we have.
We've hit the
We've hit the
mark.
mark.
I know. Who knew?
Yeah, we went the
Who knew my
full.
first podcast was going to be so
Yeah,
successful?
I'm
So
glad you
it
had a
feels
good
like
time.
that.
I hope you had a good time.
I did. And thank you so
No
much. You made
problem.
it so easy and friendly, and you're very conversational. So I really
Well, thank
appreciate
you,
it.
thank you. Before we go, there's always two things. One of most importance is do you have any closing statements to anything to say to the nice people?
Wow, is this where I do a website plug? Is that
You
what
can
most
do
people
whatever
do?
you want.
Okay. Well, you can visit my website at theleasingdepartment.com. I'm happy to give a quote to a property owner or to help out a prospective renter. And then there was a second thing I'm supposed to do. What was
The si-
it? Enjoy
Enjoy
yourself.
yourself.
Be
Yes,
safe.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
be safe and look for the market. Get on the market earlier. And if you really have that gut feeling about it just from the photos, just
yeah.
apply. Just go ahead and put in your application.
Don't wait.
At this time, it's very competitive. Don't wait, Phil, you got
Yeah.
it. I love it.
And then the last question I ask all my guests, it's just a random question. Consider a hot dog in a
Ooh, I
bun.
love it.
Is it a sandwich?
For this sandwich, a hot dog and a bun, is it a sandwich? Technically, no.
Okay.
I don't think so. I'm so sorry. I feel like it's the wrong kind of bread to be a sandwich.
Okay. The wrong kind of bread. Okay.
Wait, is there like a poll? Do you
It's
know
kind
like
of an
what the most
informal
popular is?
poll. I haven't really
Okay.
tracked it. It's pretty even.
What?
It's pretty even though between the yes it's a sandwiches and no it's not a sandwich but there have been a lot of really interesting reasons and a few cat trails
Oh,
that
really?
that we've gone off on because of the question. Uh, like uh, um,
No.
like that one person thought that a taco was more closely related to a hot dog than a sandwich because of the way the
Visually
visually
speaking,
speaking,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So we decided that a hot dog that either a hot dog is a taco or a taco is a hot dog. We couldn't figure that one out. But
Wait, do we just have a new $1 million idea here? What?
well,
Are we gonna switch
couple
careers
of couple of
and
weeks
start
ago,
something new?
I had a gentleman who came up with the idea to pair a hot dog with French onion soup and call it the soup doggy dog.
God bless. I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat meat, but that's what got me because I was like, wait a second, I do have these like plant-based hot
Uh
dogs that I
huh.
have sometimes, but I do put them in like I fold them in a piece of like regular sandwich
Okay.
bread, and I'm like, maybe I'll change my mind later and give Bill a DM. I'll drop into your DMs and say, hey, change my answer. It is a sandwich.
It can be if the situation is right.
Yeah. I'm from Chicago, so we have a serious thing about hot
Yes,
dogs there. We take food very serious when you're in Chicago. It's like if you don't have those tomatoes and hot peppers and celery
I
salt,
love a
bunch
Chicago
of
style
things.
hot dog. And no
They're so
ketchup.
different than the
Never
rest
any
of the
ketchup.
country. Just a little squiggle of that
That's
mustard.
right.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been such a pleasure, and I'm very thankful that you chose me to be your guest today. I had a lot of fun
No, it's
talking
been
with you.
great. And yeah, I'll get this published right away. And
Uh-oh.
yeah,
Okay, let me know so
okay.
I'll listen to it before midnight.
All right, I will. Yeah, and that's it except for the credits. And the lease, the
Roll 'em.
leasing. Wait a minute. What was the website again?
It's theleasingdepartment.com.
Theleasingdepartment.com. Okay,
Yeah, it's right on the nose.
right on the nose. You were lucky to get
All
that one.
right. I
Okay,
think so.
well, that's it for
All right.
for us today, and I want to thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for being on the show. Now I'm going to run the end credits.
Thank you. Have a
You
wonderful
too.
day. Oh, stay
Okay,
cool.
you too. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Bill.
I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank my producer, my mother, Eileen Hatch. I, of course, am your humble host, Bill Hatch. And I'd like to really thank my special guest for today, Raine Phillips. If you feel so led, go over to Patreon and support the show at Bald Spots Pro. And don't miss YWL Online. You can find it on Facebook and wherever fine podcasts are presented. And tune in. Well, this is going to be difficult next time wait a minute. It's moved too fast. Let me move this back here. Okay. My next guest will be Christine Sawyer. I think that's how it's pronounced. Oh, now I moved it too far back. Christine Sawyer. And then my guest after that is Terry J. And then after that will be Lillian Brummett and Jasmine Deanne Andrews on the Thursday night show. So please like, comment, share, follow, whatever it is you have to do to stay informed and kick the algorithm into gear for Not Quite After Midnight so we can reach more people. And thanks once again. And I'll see you next time.